here we go again with another of our Evolution Consulting market updates. This one being recorded on Friday, the 13th of May, 2016. All right, and this one is it's a smoking flight, by the way. This go around. And the reason I say it's a smoking flight is because this particular market update, we're really not going to make any specific equity recommendations. This is just more of a rant. Okay, this is the byproduct of 1 week of CNBC and Bloomberg seeming to want to convince the world that the entire retail sector, or the entire brick and mortar retail sector, is doomed because of Amazon. Like every brick and mortar store on the planet is going to shutter its doors forever and ever and ever because of Amazon. How short memories we have. Because I can remember about 10 or 15 years ago, and I'm only 34 years old, when Walmart started opening up all over the place. I mean, in earnest. 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, Walmart started opening up all over the place, and everybody swore up and down that Walmart was the death of retail, and every single store on the planet was going to turn into a Walmart. Well, fast forward 20 years, and here we are with Amazon. And the reality of the situation is, guys, no, not every friggin' store is going to turn into an Amazon shipping depot or an Amazon retail outlet. It's the natural evolution of retail. And I know some of the stuff I'm going to say is going to sound dangerously similar to the talking heads that have been on CNBC all week, but every once in a while, they've actually had somebody on this week that makes a modicum of sense. For instance, I forget matter of fact, this morning, there was a guy on made reference to a store chain called Caldors, and I almost fell out of my chair laughing because I had a conversation with the EA about Caldors last night going, guys, I can run down a list of store names that just don't exist anymore, not because they were bad stores, but because retail changed. The products changed, the demographic that they were selling to changed, okay, and that is the natural cycle of business, and they are in no particular order, okay. Woolworths. Remember Woolworths? Woolworths, TSS, Service Merchandise, Herman Sporting Goods, more recently Sports Authority, Caldors, Borders, and pretty soon it looks like Radio Shack. All right? The demographic, all right, is obviously changing. And they talked accurately about millennials being the primary driving force behind retail now. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but certainly, I know I'm 34. I don't really particularly fit in with my demographic shopping habits very much. All right, I mean, fashion, I make fun of it all the time. I said, if my socks match in the morning, I know it's going to be a good day. But the reality is, guys, if they're saying that Amazon is the death knell of retail, they ain't seen nothing yet. Amazon just happens to be a very large online retailer that's got great selection, that's got a great story and a great name behind it. They have a tremendous CEO. Jeff Bezos, I think, is up there at the Elon Musk level for just absolute pioneer and brilliant businessman. But this is only the beginning of online retailing. We've done a little bit of research, and when I say a little bit of research, I mean last night I sat around and I just ran a couple of quick scan searches, just almost out of sheer aggravation about all the stuff that we were hearing on the business networks about how the retail sector is doomed. Every mall in the world is going to close, right, because of Amazon. Well, here comes a little bit of a reality check, guys. We haven't seen the beginning of what online e-tailing or online retailing can be. For those of you that are familiar with a company called Oculus, then they make something called Oculus Rift. It's really the first incarnation, the first generation of a mass-produced virtual reality system that comes complete with the ubiquitous virtual reality so-called goggles and whatnot. Now, I've had the chance to try one of those recently, not the Rift. I had a chance to try the Samsung variant that Oculus produces. You can actually take a Samsung mobile device and snap that into an Oculus Rift-shaped face piece, okay, or optical piece, and move your head around, and all of a sudden, I mean, it's got all the telemetry. It works very similar to, if you guys are familiar with military hardware, the way if an AH-64 longbow pilot moves his head, there's a little magnet in the back, and it can tell which way he's looking. Well, the Oculus the mobile device does that simply by the way it's angled using the Mercury switch inside. Okay, but it's very cool. I'll be the first to say that I'm a tech snob, and I like to moan and complain sometimes about technology and how it can be made better. All right, but I was very impressed with the Oculus Rift. So was the EA. And the first thought that went into my head was, oh, how long do you think it's going to take for a major store chain to come up with the idea of a true virtual reality shopping experience? A company like Amazon that doesn't have brick and mortar outlets. I mean, if there ever was the poster child for a company that doesn't have brick and mortar outlets but is an absolute retail monster, how long do you think it's going to take Amazon to build the first virtual store? Okay, complete with its own virtual identity, complete with its own virtual layouts and so forth, but built entirely in virtual reality. So that online retail experience, which becomes slightly more or slightly arduous, I should say. And I'd freely admit I do shop online quite a bit. Okay, if it's for stuff that I know about already, computer hardware. If I know there's a specific piece of hardware that I want, I don't have a problem shopping online for it. Okay, but in terms of like kind of just browsing and stuff, I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit old school. I like a brick and mortar retail experience. I do. But in terms of like an Amazon, where you're looking either for a specific item or you have at least some semblance of what you want already, I said, with Oculus Rift, the high definition version, and advancements in that, that's probably, I mean, if you think just Amazon.com and its conventional online retailing is the death knell or the nail in the coffin, so-called, of brick and mortar stores, guys, then a fully virtual reality store, I mean, complete with interactivity where you can pick up items and little windows open up and they tell you about it, the price and so forth. And if Amazon.com is the nail in the coffin of retail, then the Amazon.com virtual store experience is the tank driving over the burning casket, okay? Straight up parking lot Viking funeral style. But, there's so many, I mean, we've only seen the infancy of online retailing, guys. And they had somebody on recently that was talking about like the mall store experience. And you know what? I don't blame Amazon for the abysmal earnings, including JWN, Nordstrom stores, which is one of our recommendations, which, guys, we were wrong on. We saw the linguistics saying that there's going to be a split in retail, just the way there's going to be a split in society, taking top-level information and kind of, filtering it down. There's going to be an extreme high end, okay, and there's going to be an extreme low end. And we're seeing that already in even just social numbers, the dying middle class, whatever the case may be. So the reality is we recommended Nordstrom. We got a little bit of a pop on it. I mean, I think maybe got a 5 or 6% gain if you had a super tight trailing stop in place. But we'll be the first to admit Nordstrom just face planted. Okay, and they're 17. I think they're down like 17, 20% now on absolutely, almost unspeakably horrible earnings. But guys, the reality of the situation is it's a demographic thing. It's a generational thing. And I'm going to try to keep this to under 20 minutes, but this is one of my high-speed rants here. First of all, okay, I don't blame, but I say the logistics companies, the ability to get a product, okay, from an online retailer like Amazon to a front door within 24 hours, okay, and that's either using FedEx or UPS or Amazon. I mean, Amazon has their own airline at this point for the most part. They're in the process of developing something very similar to what FedEx has or UPS has, which is effectively their own integrated logistics chain. I mean, Amazon's even creative enough to explore UAV delivery, which I think is absolutely incredible. And there is, if you guys get a chance, jump on YouTube. One of my personal favorite celebrities, if you want to call him that, Jeremy Clarkson, is now kind of the spokesman for the Amazon drone delivery, which is just, I think, super cool. But nonetheless, guys, that logistics chain, I think, has had more of an impact, not just from Amazon, but from all online retailers. All right, that's really where it's at. I mean, the biggest decision I know, me personally, especially if I'm shopping for stuff like computer hardware, I like instant gratification. It has nothing to do with generation. It's just that I'm not a very patient person, all right, when it comes to certain things. For instance, waiting on logistics. I'm not big on waiting for 7 to 10 business days. Okay, I can remember when I was a kid and I liked to go fishing a lot, I would order stuff from Bass Pro Shops, and it was just a bummer because you were like, all right, in another week and a half, I'll have my stuff. It's now, though, I mean, with Amazon, especially like Amazon Prime and a lot of their upgraded shipping and other sites too, Newegg and Tiger Direct, the logistics chain is where the appeal is for me, and I think a lot of people now, which is I can order something now and it can be on my doorstep in 24 hours, it could be on my doorstep in 48 hours, 72 hours at worst, and those are fairly reliable numbers. It's not like something just shows up a day early and you're like, yay. Those are fairly reliable advertised metrics as far as logistics, but that to me represents more of the doom of the retail sector than anything else, because now it's not just Amazon. It's a wide variety of various online sites that had that advantage of being able to. Because like I said, I'm gonna think what really, for me personally, what's the difference between my wanting to get off my butt and go to a brick and mortar store? I'm not a particularly lazy person. I don't mind going out and going shopping. Obviously not for fashion stuff, but for me, it's the price and the wait. Am I willing to pay sales tax? Am I willing to pay a little bit more, maybe in a brick and mortar store, but I get to pick it up, look at it, maybe compare it to one or two other products I didn't know existed, okay, and then have it instantaneously, the ubiquitous cash and carry, if you will. All right, that becomes less of a decision factor when I kind of look at something online and go, oh hell, I could have it here in 24 hours. I can wait till tomorrow to have it, right? And I think that's really where the demise of retail was coming from. First of all, second of all, with that high-speed logistics change, you wave goodbye to your department stores, because the whole point, if you guys study business history or commercial history or just really American social history, the whole appeal of department stores, guys, when there was a Roebuck in Sears Roebuck, the whole point, and for those of you that think like Walmart invented or Super Target invented the idea of being able to get your oil changed, your eyeglasses, a lawnmower, and buy some clothing and some groceries, all in the same place. They didn't invent that. Sears Roebuck invented that 50 years ago. The concept of the department store. A&S is another one. Gertz, if you can remember that. Okay, those are all stores. The whole appeal of a department store, guys, was the fact that the whole appeal of a department store is the fact that you can walk in and buy stuff for the home, buy stuff for the kitchen, buy stuff for the yard, all in one place. Because to order that from a catalog like Montgomery Ward, for instance, it would take 3 weeks for it to get delivered. Okay, so the appeal was the wide range of products and the ability to shop it for a wide range of products and have a wide range of products. That appeal is gone thanks to the logistics chains, I think, more so than the online retailers. Okay, so as far as the evolution of retail, if you will, no pun intended. First of all, I'm a pretty smart guy. I like to think that the evolution audience, are some pretty smart folks. I know they are, but you put me in a marketing department of J.C. Penney's, you put me in the marketing department of Macy's. Hell, you even put me in the marketing department of Nordstrom at this point. I like Nordstrom. Nordstrom sells my favorite brand, which is Tommy Bahama. Okay, that's fat guy shirts for skinny dudes like me. Not too many of my generation are wearing Tommy Bahama, though, which is, like I said, I have a thing for Hawaiian shirts for the most part. But, you look at those stores, you put me in the marketing department there, my first question to the entire marketing department, possibly through a megaphone, would be, who's your demographic? I don't think there's a person in any of those marketing departments, and certainly I wouldn't be able to if I worked there. Who are they marketing to? Who's J.C. Penney's target audience? Who's Nordstrom's target audience? Now, Nordstrom, I can kind of figure it out. It's an older, more upscale crowd, all right? And again, I've been in Nordstrom stores. I think they're fantastic. Okay, they offer great shopping experience. When I lived in New York and I was making this, okay, I had where you'd walk in and have your own little personal shopper would run around and he would get stuff that he thought you might like and everything. It was a fantastic experience. But Macy's, J.C. Penney's, those stores, I mean, their marketing is effectively just, we're here. That's really their marketing. They're there. They're an anchor store. They're there. They've been around for a million years. And they're relying, I think, heavily on parents that are old enough to remember when those stores were certainly more desirable. So that's a legacy marketing approach that's not going to work, guys. As far as what JCPenney did, I want to say JCPenney, I was in one recently with Sephora. Putting Sephora in JCPenney is just the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. I'm surprised Sephora went for that because they do portray themselves as a very upscale luxury brand. Thankfully, I've had the help of the EA in kind of, her explaining the difference, like MAC makeup and, Sephora and all that stuff. Like I said, the fashion train left the station, guys. I took the bus. But in terms of those stores surviving, nope. Oh, no. No way. They're going away, guys. They're going away because of what they offer. Just like Caldors, just like Woolworths. It's the natural cycle of retail. Okay, yes, there is less consumer spending going on, certainly. And I think they mentioned that the millennial generation would rather have less stuff and spend money on experiences. That's one I happen to agree with in some cases. All right? And I find myself doing that quite frequently now, too. So that one I can say for sure, yeah. But in terms of the overall retail thing, guys, I think we've only seen the tip of the iceberg in terms of what online retailing can really do. I think the online virtual reality store, I think, is going to be huge. That's going to be absolutely huge. I think IKEA, at the matter of fact, I did some research. IKEA is experimenting with it. Target's got something, but it's kind of it's just a virtual reality version of their weekly mailer circular. It's pretty cool, but still, it's not the real kind of what we forecast and what we envision as being like. Where you're literally walking through a purely virtual store, possibly in almost an MMO environment. Okay, if you can wrap your mind around that, which is, for those of you not familiar with the gamer term, it's MMO, stands for Massive Multiplayer Online. Games like League of Legends or World of Warcraft or World of Tanks in my case. Okay, that's where there's lots of other players on the same level that you are. All right, to have literally a virtual store with other shoppers where you can share reviews and share experiences with. Amazon.com is the end of retail. Oh, wait till that starts. You ain't seen nothing yet. So, in terms of where retail is going in terms of brick and mortar. I just want to add this little bit here, and then, like I said, I want this video to go over 20 minutes. But in terms of where retail is going from here, first of all, I wouldn't touch the entire sector with a 30-foot pole. I just wouldn't do it one way or the other. Research aside, it's just not something that we forecast, at least until after the GER, to really kind of undergo that evolution, if you will. But where we see it going, in terms of what is a brick and mortar store experience going to look like, certainly smaller malls. They're just, I mean, they are too big, and I'm not the only one saying that. There's experts that have been in the business for 30, 40 years that are saying the same thing, and it's just the research. The research certainly does support that. They're too big, and we see smaller brand-specific stores. And I know you can make an argument and say, like, well, Abercrombie's not doing great, and PacSun got obliterated, and it's, I think it's got everything to do with the demographics are changing, okay? The merchandise itself is changing, and the speed of information. Don't forget, okay, when you got a clothing line in, 20 years ago, or even up to, I want to say 15 years ago, 10 years ago at this point, you were good for that whole season. I've spoken to experts that have worked retail before and that have worked on the buying side of retail, which I know absolutely not a freaking lootly thing about. All right, but they say, you were usually good. You'd pre-order a seasonal, or a season's worth of fashion, and you were good. With the internet, with the speed of information and the speed that information moves, things go in and out of fashion now like this. Okay, so in terms of mall stores adapting, I see smaller, more high end. I see brick and mortar really catering to a higher end shopper. I'll give you an example. Going into Nordstrom again, talk about Tommy Bahama. I go into Nordstrom, I make a beeline for Tommy Bahama. I don't look at the other stuff. I'm there specifically for that brand. Now, Tommy Bahama as a brand also has their own dedicated stores. All right, so I see those types of stores that have brand allegiance, stores where you walk in and you have a shopping experience. And somebody mentioned the Apple store. Okay, and they're right. When you walk into an Apple store, it's not just you're going in there to buy Apple stuff, because guess what? At the end of the day, you can buy one online. You can buy an iPad online. You can buy an iPhone online. You can buy a MacBook Pro online. Okay, but what makes somebody want to go into an Apple store is their allegiance to that Apple brand. When you walk into an Apple store, you feel like you've walked into an Apple device, and it works. And there's not too many stores that really do that. Tommy Bahama is one that does that very well. You walk into a Tommy Bahama store, and it's a complete environment change, and it's very cool. I like it. I know maybe that's some of my own personal shopping bias, but I think that can be said for the more successful chain stores that are out there, or the inline stores that, as far as a mall goes. So I see smaller. If you guys want to see what I'm talking about, take a look at a place called Americana Manhasset on Long Island. It's a really, really interesting design, and I think that's kind of something of the future of a mall store where it almost becomes an attraction. Okay, and now Americana Manhasset happens to be very high end. It's Hermes, Burberry, and a bunch of other stuff is in there, real high end stuff. I think they have a Crate and Barrel in there now. But in terms of retail at the brick and mortar level, I think it's going to be all big box and then all smaller, the high end stuff, and that's just, it goes hand in hand with the demographic information that we've been seeing, which is this in terms of people call it the death of the middle class, or the stratification of income, or class warfare. You look at, and I really think Americana Manhasset, those types of small, and it's an outdoor mall, by the way. I think those types of malls that are scalable is the word I'm looking for, because they've added to it more than once. That's kind of the future of retail. So on that note, guys, I did say I was going to recommend one equity. And I'm sorry if I sound like the guys on CNBC, but I'm going to say it anyway, guys. Get long Amazon. Get long Amazon at current levels, and I'm not saying that only because of their retail business, and I'm not saying that exclusively because of the AWS business. There is something coming up that is going to generate a hell of a lot of hype that's going to move that stock higher, if nothing else, on a purely hype play, and I will do another video on that soon. But until then, guys, hope this has been helpful. I mean, I wanted to share just some of the information from an observational level as well as just real, I mean, that was not in-depth research from Evolution 4.0. That was just quick scan type stuff. Guys, I hope it's been helpful. Again, hope it's inspired some thought. As usual, be good. Everything's a transaction.